Our topic today is why the internet is not killing your business and why your salespeople are. So, first of all, I'd like to welcome Penny to the call. Hi, Penny.
Hi, David. How are you?
I'm very well.
Good.
Very well. Did you just want to tell us a bit about your background?
Yeah, sure. I've been in retail for many decades, and I realised that I wanted to make a difference to many retailers. At Chiron Group, we have a belief that we can increase consumer confidence one customer at a time, and it's up to our salespeople to be able to do that. So when we go into a store and that salesperson says, "Hi, how are you?" and I reply, "Yes, I'm well," and then the salesperson replies with, "Oh, we're really quiet," and it's da da da. Well, obviously, social proof says, because we listen and watch what others are doing, thinking, "Oh my God, I won't shop here because nobody else is." And then the other thing is, well, maybe I should be saving my money because nobody else is spending.
Right.
So that's how we can certainly make a difference. So what we do is we go out and we educate retailers on how to increase their sales using the human behaviour aspect.
Fantastic. And I suppose with regard to today's topic, it's something I'm pretty passionate about as well, is this whole notion of what the internet is doing to impact the retail market or even anybody who sells.
Yes.
Because we're in an age now where people have unlimited access to information. They can do research on their mobile phone while they're in store or while they're talking to a salesperson. If you're on the phone, they can be on the internet browsing and looking at competitive pricing, competitive information. Yes. So tell me the story behind, I suppose, the title of today's topic.
Yeah. What I realised very early in the piece was that when I tell people what I do, I hear the stories of, oh, there's some shocking service out there.
Yeah.
So to me, I realised, and just through being out there, I realised that internet is not the problem. So it's about, we have a brand, we have who we are, but more importantly, what we have is, we have a brand and it must be consistent throughout. So say, for example, from advertising to our window displays to the way the shop is set up to the customer service. What I've found is that certainly our customer service standards aren't there. So it's easy to blame the internet, but it's not the internet. People still want connection. People still want to go into stores and have that connection, be made to feel special, and that's not necessarily happening. So also too, what we found is that, people do research on the internet. Not everybody buys off the internet. So it's a fallacy that we're saying, bricks and mortar is dead because nobody buys, because everybody's buying on the internet. And that's not true at all. They are researching before they come into the store. But they want to see, what is your range, their time port. They still want that connection.
Yeah, and I suppose it really is going to come down to customer experience.
Yeah, it's all about it.
And really, I've been on the same boat as you. We've been talking about how this is impacting the people who've got direct sales, and the reality is people now expect more service.
Yes.
Because in the old days, they could get away with very little service because no one knew where else to go. So there were no other choices. So all of a sudden, with the choices available, it's really going to come down to what salespeople used to do and what they do now are very different.
Yeah, and I agree. And even though retail is my background, and this is what I said to you when we were talking a little bit earlier, it transcends to business. So everybody is in sales. So whether you're in the accounting function, whether you're in the front desk function, we're all in sales. So really, it's about treating your customers well. So customers can be throughout. It's not just people that walk into stores. It's really throughout the business.
Okay. So let's get into today's presentation.
Great.
Where are we going to start?
Okay, so let's look at today's market. What do you think about that?
Today's market, as
in retail market, business market. So let's look at what's going on in today's market.
Okay, so I suppose my perspective, and I know really, we work with a lot of different people. Some are retailers, some are business to business, and some are service providers. And as we just mentioned, the big thing I'm seeing is people have your customers are a lot more educated. They don't walk in and say, "Tell me about your product."
Yeah.
They walk in and say, "I'm looking at these two products. Which one? And I know which one's better according to the ratings online.
Yes.
And I need your help."
Yes. Yeah. 100%. I agree. So there's a couple of things happening, and you've brought up a really great point, and this is where we say the tide is turning. customers are more educated than they have ever been before.
Yep.
So, and this is what I said previously. So they're actually doing their homework. So a lot of the times they actually have more knowledge
Yep.
than the customer. So when they walk into the store or when they walk into your business, whether
Yep.
it be B2B or whatever it is, they have more knowledge than the salesperson does.
Yes.
So that's where you need to be knowledgeable for starters. But it's not only that. It's about understanding the human behaviour and what's important to me as a customer.
Okay.
So even though we think that we will sell people what we think they should have, it's about listening to the customer.
Right.
What is it that they want? What's going to satisfy their needs?
Okay.
And that's really important. The other important thing that I'm seeing in the marketplace is that we're scrambling. We're seeing that changing market. We're not sure where to go.
Yep.
We see that there's a digital marketplace.
Yep.
But business doesn't necessarily have an online strategy.
Okay.
So it's bridging those two together. There is no offline, there is no online. It comes together and having that strategy. So what normally happens is people are paralysed, business is paralysed into inaction because they don't know what to do.
Right.
Or they do it half-heartedly and just put anything on there and say on Facebook, on Instagram, on whatever, and then we'll say things like, oh, that didn't work. Facebook is rubbish. It doesn't work. Well, it does if you do it well.
Okay.
The other thing is customers no longer want average service.
Yep.
So they have a voice.
Can we rephrase that? They're no longer willing to tolerate average service.
That's exactly right. So they have a voice. Finally, they feel they have a voice.
Yeah.
So they go to Facebook, Twitter, wherever they need to go to say, don't shop here or don't go to this business because the service is so bad, their product range is bad, whatever it may be. So more than ever, we must be giving that excellence in customer service.
This is a really important point because I think a lot of people don't realise in the old days if you had full customer service with one person, you just hope they go away and don't say anything.
Yeah.
These days, you're right. Any person can jump online and basically make comments, positive or negative, and even things like Google Places gives people the ability to comment. And I've actually had a client who said we've had a troublesome client comment in a negative way.
Yeah.
They only had one comment on their Google Places and they couldn't get it off.
Isn't that interesting?
Now, they had to go through a whole process to try and fix the problem.
Yeah.
But the simple answer to the problem was, well, if you've got one negative comment and nothing else, that's really bad.
Yes.
If you have one negative comment and 100 positive ones,
the
negative one now disappears.
That's exactly right. Because what we must remember, we're not going to please everybody all of the time. And that's what's important. You know what? As long as you can please as many customers as you can, that, as you said, you made a great point, that negative comment will suddenly go away because there are difficult people in this world. That's just part of life. So it's a matter of just making sure that consistently the service is there. It actually it really relies on your branding as well. It's consistent branding, customer service. The message that you're relaying needs to be consistent throughout.
Great. So let's talk about what the successful retailers are doing.
Yeah, sure. So there's a lot of successful retailers out there. So there's actually success stories on very big scales and small scales. We all know about the businesses like Zara, Topshop that are coming into Australia. What we don't realise is that there was business like Topshop 12 years ago were actually ready to fold. They were actually having huge issues. And the most important point here is they needed to understand that they had lost their way, but also the product and brand perception. So what they found was that girls would go into their stores for fast fashion, Saturday night, wear this top once and off they go. Whereas what it was, or that was a meeting place because they always had the best. Their shops were located on the corners of the best areas, so it was a meeting place. That was the other thing. So they needed to understand that they needed to have a fashion-led collection. They needed to change their brand marketing completely, and they went from marketing from the weekly rag or the TV rag to Vogue. Now, that took quite a while to get Vogue on board, but more importantly, it was a success. So Topshop may not have been here today. What they did was they basically changed their strategy and they're now a success story. So that's one important point that we must be realising. The other thing is it's understanding the human behaviour side. So how to connect with people and how to communicate with people, and that's really, really important. again, whether it's retail, business, it's about that communication with not only your customers but also to your staff.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because it used to be like if anyone did marketing at university, they used to be taught the 4 Ps.
Yeah.
You know, product, price, place, and promotion.
Yes.
And these days, what's happened is that's all turned right around, and the internet has actually changed this whole notion of 4 Ps. And now we're starting to talk about what's called the 4 Cs,
Yes.
which is having the right content or information, because that's what people look for on the internet.
Yes.
Having the right context or the timing, so the information shows up at the right time.
Yeah.
And this includes with your salespeople, because they're not there to actually give information anymore. They're there to assist, right? So then the other part is communication. Yeah. And you just brought this up, and really these days more than ever, because in the end, people will buy from people. They don't buy from machines. And even though prices might be cheaper online, what happens is that if you can offer customer service, people will pay a premium. Because they buy the experience. And the example I use is if you think about movie theatres.
Yes.
And anyone who's been around for a little while knows that they were nearly dead. And what happened is home cinema came out, and people were buying these home cinema chairs and these big screens, and they were setting up these great cinema. But then they started to realise that that's not what they actually wanted. Right? What they wanted was that the ability to dress up and go out for a night out with their friends, have a social environment, and actually see other people. And so now, if you look at cinemas, the price of tickets has gone up again. It's up nearly $18 to $20 for a ticket now, and it's a night out.
Yes.
Even though I can sit at home in my home theatre, it's just not the same experience.
And I agree with you. And it all comes back to people want connection, community. They want to be part of. They want to be part of a community. They want to be able to connect, and that's what's important. The other important point is too, and this is what we're finding more and more, successful companies know their why. So it's not enough anymore to just say, this is what I have, this is how you do it. Well, this is the why. So I'll give you a good example, bike stores. So, for example, bike stores, you don't buy a bike to get to one place to another. It's really about what does it give you? It gives you the freedom, it gives you family time, it gives you significance, it gives you escape. So that's what it gives you. So bike stores don't sell the bike, they actually sell the experience, and that's what it's about. So when they're marketing, when they're doing all of that, it's about what is this going to give you? What is going to be the end result? How is it going to make you feel? Another good example of that is Apple. So basically, so their belief is that they challenge the status quo. They're about thinking differently. They make products that are beautifully designed and user-friendly. They just happen to make computers. It's really, really about business understanding the why and why they exist. Once they understand that, then it goes to the what and the how. So what is it that they do and how do they do it?
And I think one of the key messages here is the salespeople who work in any business now are not actually salespeople. Right? They're actually leaders. They're mentors. They're communicators of this experience. Right? And I think when people start to realise it, and I think you pointed this out from one of my presentations, is customer service now equals marketing. And so if you think about your customer service people as actually providing an experience, and I've done this with a few of our clients where we actually say, let's rate the customer experience on a scale of 1 to 10 for every step of the process they go through with you. And if it's anything less than a 8 or a 9, you've got lots of work to do here, which will fix your marketing. Because a great customer experience will lead into positive social proof, or what we call testimonial. And these days, that's the communication channel. So this whole idea of the communication channel, it's not about you marketing anymore. Your client is marketing on your behalf, positive or negative.
And I agree with that. And there's one particular retailer, and she's only a small retailer, who is expanding, is Miss Velvet, Frankston. She's got a beautiful store in Frankston. Before she can even get her stock on the floor, it sells. So when she's on the way back from a supplier, or when she's just done a buy or stocks come in, it's on Facebook, Instagram immediately. So she's got a background in styling. Her staff are known as stylists. They're actually not known as salespeople. So so they're called in-house stylists. So what they're doing is they're creating an experience within the store. Which is a great experience. She has a huge following. So so that's where it's about what we said earlier. It's about people want an experience. It's not being sold to.
You know what I've noticed? I don't know. In the past few weeks, there's been a lot of frozen yogurt shops popping up.
Yes.
And there's about 5 or 6 different brands, which is interesting because it's not the same company. what they do is you grab your little tub and you walk around the store and you fill it with all the different flavours and the toppings.
Yes.
And they're charging quite a lot of money for these things, right? You walk out and you spend $10 on an ice cream.
Yes.
And I was thinking about why is this so popular all of a sudden? And it comes down to the same thing. It's the experience.
Yeah.
Right? Someone doesn't make it for you. You actually do it yourself.
Yes.
And you pay a premium for the privilege of doing that.
It yourself. And it's actually, you've just put a great point. So people go into stores because they want an experience. They want to be able to touch, feel, see.
Yes.
So internet doesn't give them that.
Right.
So this is why these stores are so, and you are right, we are paying a premium. My kids, we had one downstairs where we live, and they were there all the time doing their yoga and filling it up. You're right, by the time we knew it, but it was just that you could do it on your own. It was tactile. It was all of that. Yeah. Look at I know that Body Shop, they had one Christmas where you were able to, so you were able to try. Baker's Delight do it beautifully. Try before you know. So you're sitting there eating all their food, and then suddenly go, I really like that. I think I'll have one of those as well. Yeah. So it's just creating that beautiful experience, starting from your advertising to when they walk into the store till after they leave.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it needs to come, as a package.
So let me ask you this. We're talking about this whole idea of experience. How does a business owner actually get their team to engage in this style of marketing or sales?
Yeah, great question.
Yeah.
Now, I always say the fish stinks from the head up. So, now I don't know whether it's the right quote, but the gist of it.
We know the quote.
So, yeah, exactly. So, first and foremost, the business owner must be a great leader. So, whether they're the manager or they're the owner, they must be a great leader.
Yeah.
It's a known fact that staff that are treated with respect will treat their customers with respect.
Right.
So it's also about the owner sharing the vision. So it's about, again, going back to knowing the why of the business. What are the values of the business? What are the way we're moving forward? It's about getting the buy-in from your staff. So once you get that buy-in, once you are treated with respect as a staff member, what automatically happens is that you start to engage with the customers, engage with the business. So innovation must always be encouraged. It's a collaborative process. So say, for example, the business may not have their values set up yet. Well, get the buy-in from their staff. What do they want to see? What are important values for them? Zappos is a really great example of this, and this is where they saw their biggest example. So one of the things that they knew was the ingredients to their success. So everybody thinks that Zappos is an overnight success. When I read their book, I was really quite surprised. And what they found, so after having quite a few sort of, let's just say failures, but they weren't really failures, they were learnings. What they understood that basically customers have an emotional connection, and that's what seals the deal. They're fanatical about their great customer service, but it's about providing that wow. It's that wow factor. So it was about wowing the customers, but they also hire and fire people based on their values. So their values are so important. So every decision that is made within their company is based on the values. So to the point that they will give new employees $1,000 to actually quit a week into their training period. So they've got the 4 weeks. So basically they know that if they quit, they weren't the right person. If they stay, they create this friendly, warm, exciting environment that's really encourages diversity, ideas, opinions, and really create a family environment. That's what people want. Money is not necessarily relevant. We all need money to live. Let's not get silly about things. But at the same time, if you are treating your staff well, they will give everything and more.
Well, it's a very important point too, because we talk about how do we incentivize team, and a lot of team incentives are based on key performance indicators, which are money related.
Yes.
And it's true, money's not the motivator. See, money, and this is one of my big sort of sticking points with people in business is it's not ever about the money, because the money is just the scorecard.
Yes.
Right? The money that comes into a business is a direct reflection of the value that business generates to the marketplace. So if you start measuring people on money, what they're looking at is the wrong thing. It's like driving by looking in the rearview mirror. So what they should be looking at is how can we improve the customer experience. So
Yeah.
when we talk about engaging team, one of the big things for me is to use a key performance indicator, which is based on customer experience.
Yeah. I like that.
You'll notice a lot more these days, because even Telstra these days, when you ring and you have a complaint or you need something done, the very first thing or the very last thing they do at the end of the conversation is they say, now we're going to do a survey and we want you to give us the feedback on your experience.
Yes.
So what we're talking about here is this ability to get feedback on the fly, which is about the experience, because that's the ultimate measure. Because when a client leaves an interaction with you, are they feeling pumped up or are they feeling deflated?
Yeah.
Because if they're feeling pumped up, they're going to be the best salesperson that you have.
Yes, and that's exactly right. And it's also to the rewarding the great work. Sometimes we tend to always pick people up when they're not doing so well, so reward it. So, and also train your staff so they're empowered to achieve results.
Yeah.
A lot of the times we throw people into a business and expect them to swim. Well, you know what? Teach me how to do it. Teach me the standard. Have the standard. Be consistent with the standard, and then I'll be able to maintain, increase, and better the standard. And give me a way to get better at what I do and improve your systems.
Right.
So as long as there's systems in place, well, you know what? I become more empowered if you teach me the systems, if you help me to grow, and really that's what people want. That's another core need. It's about growing.
So really, like, just to sort of summarise this area up is, so to get the team on board, number one, we need to be a strong leader.
Yep.
Number two, we have to be pretty clear on what our expectation is from a customer experience point of view.
Yes.
Then we need to have some sort of training process that we can put our team members through.
Yep.
And we need a way of measuring so that we can consistently sort of look back and make sure that they are up to speed with the level of service that we need.
Yes. And the only two others that I'd add to that is know your why and know your company values.
Right.
So again, that goes back to standards, and you said it earlier. It really, if you understand why your company is in business, because people don't want to just do for the sake of doing. They want to know why they're doing it and why we are here, why we exist, and then also have the values to live by and always refer to and make decisions on. That's what we've done. That's a great business.
Awesome. Okay, great. So let's talk about the other side of the coin. What happens if a company doesn't embrace these changes?
Yeah, I love this quote. This is a quote from Ron McLean. And basically, being in business can be a battle. Fighting to stay ahead of the competition can be a struggle. This is a war of attrition where the strong get stronger and the weak disappear. That resonates because what happens is right now, in times like this, it's about natural attrition. It's the ones that change with the market are going to survive. The ones that bury their head in the sand and don't want to accept change will die off. So basically, there's retailers that have closed, there's businesses that have closed. They haven't changed with the market. And one that always comes to mind for me, which is Fletcher Jones. As their customer base died off, they died off, unfortunately. They just didn't move with the times. There's been businesses like, if we remember quite a while ago, Country Road and Witchery. Now, they knew they had to change, and they did change. And with the changes that they made came success, and they're continually growing and changing. So did their client base really change? I don't know that it did, but what they did was their offering was more in line. They knew who exactly their customer was. So it's really, there's a couple of things here. It's really retailers, business must embrace the online revolution and the social media revolution. That's simple. So they must be measuring everything from customer conversion to the response to their marketing, who their customer is and what they want. So it doesn't matter what business you're in, you must know your customer. And this is something that you would speak to business about all the time.
Now, here's an interesting point around this. We used to encourage people to do customer survey. And it used to be quite a painful process because you'd have to make contact with a client, you'd have to ask them the questions, and you'd have to filter through, because they're being nice to you because you're on the phone asking. With the social media world that's sort of come about now, everything's interactive, everything's live. Clients don't need to wait for a survey. They can just jump online and make comments immediately. So I think this ability to get feedback from clients is immediate.
Yes.
And this is part of social media that a lot of people don't recognise, and they're sort of puzzled by, how do I market using social media? Well, if you don't think of it as a marketing tool, if you think of it as a communication tool,
Yes.
It's two ways, which means you can tell people about what's going on, but they can also tell you about what their experience is.
Yeah.
That's where it becomes quite powerful.
And I agree with you. Like recently, I got some really bad customer service, and
Yeah.
sometimes I walk away from it, or
Yeah.
I'll ring the head office. This time, I sort of dealt with it head on, where I actually told the person that they gave me bad service face to face. Let me tell you, she was mortified. But more importantly, I got on Facebook and commented. Now, what was great about this particular business was they got onto Facebook and said, I'm so sorry about your experience, blah, blah, blah. So they could have put their head in the sand and went, oh my God, it's a bad comment. Yeah. But what they did was they actually gave me a comment back, and that was what was important.
When we teach customer service to clients, we say, the most important time to have awesome customer service is when someone complains.
Yeah. Yes.
Because if someone bothers complaining,
yes,
that means that they're actually interested in the relationship, because if they didn't care about you, they wouldn't complain.
Yeah.
So you have an opportunity to spin things around. So when we talked about earlier, one of our clients was an electrical contractor, and they had this bad comment on Google.
Yes.
I said, just reply to the comment and say, look, we're really sorry you feel that way. If you contact our office, we will rectify things for you immediately.
Perfect.
And so there was no return comment. Yeah. Because now there's an interaction. Yes. It's not just throw mud at the wall and see if it sticks. There's now someone dealing with it. So customer service comes down to dealing with customer complaints, customer dissatisfaction, any slight marginal thing that a customer is unhappy with. If you're seen in public to respond to that, all of a sudden you're now seen as a fantastic company.
And that's just it. And what we must remember is we are human. So we're not always going to be perfect all of the time. And customers recognise that. And by saying, hey, look, I've got it wrong, I'm so sorry, as a company, that's where you get that newfound respect from the client.
Yeah.
It's when they bury their head in the sand and run away scared, then, that's when they lose that respect.
Yeah.
All it is, deal with it front on. If your company made a mistake, apologise. It's about how you deal with it after, and you've made an excellent point.
Yeah, because it's in public these days. It's not like you have to deal with it and it can be in private.
Yeah,
so if it's in public, deal with it in public.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's where you can become the hero.
Yes, so true. That is so true.
Fantastic. So let's just dig into social media, because I think it is an area that does confuse people. Yeah. How do you recommend a business owner utilises social media?
Yeah, so I think what's important to recognise is that there's 1.26 million people on Facebook worldwide, 87 million users in China. Now, it's actually banned in China. That is the power of Facebook, and that is what we must understand. YouTube reaches about 1 million. You've got Pinterest, which is 70 million, and Instagram, which is 130. So what we're saying is these products, social media is here to stay, so embrace it.
Yeah.
There's people like Lululemon that does it, Instagram exceptionally well. It's about social. It's about a community. There's Feathers. If you look at their Facebook, they actually have a brand strategy, and they're doing it exceptionally well. The thing with Facebook is it's not sell, 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 and that's the mistake that business makes. It's about interaction, education. It's about building a community. That's what Facebook is about. Right. That's what Instagram is about. That's what all social media is about. Mm-hmm. The other thing that we spoke about earlier was that people will do their homework before they go into a business.
Yep.
You must have a website. Any business that does not have a website right now should not exist.
Yep.
Because the thing is, people will look at you. They want social proof. They want to know that you exist, that people are looking at you, that people are talking about you. They want to know that they're going to the right place.
Right.
The other thing is it's about education. And if you're educating, entertaining, again, people want to shop where there are experts. People want to do business where you are the expert.
Right.
So if you are active in educating, telling people what they need, having a bit of fun, showing your personal side too, that you can be a bit of fun, and that these are the people in the office and it's so-and-so's birthday, that's okay, because you're actually showing many different sides. And I believe it is 6-1. So 6 fun, educational to 1 post on selling something. Yep. So I'm not saying don't sell at all on Facebook, but what I am saying is that do it 6-1, where it's education, entertainment, it's a social thing, and then 1 where you're going to sell on something. Somebody said something to me, which is the most important information they could have given me, which was, social media is there to make sure that you are front of mind when the person is ready to do business. If that is the one takeaway that you take from social media today, that is it. Customer needs to know that you're there.
Because I use a common sense approach with social media, and I look at it and I say, okay, so what do people actually use it for? Now, if I look at Facebook, the majority of people I know, they use it to keep in touch with friends and family.
Yes.
And they just want to know what's going on in everyone's lives, right? So they're not really using it as a business tool. They're using it as a social tool.
Yeah.
And that's why it's called social media.
Yeah.
So I think, in a social environment, it is about fun. And I remember someone explained it to me one time, and they said Facebook is a party online.
Yeah, I love that.
Right? What it is you're in a room full of people,
yeah,
right? And there's conversations going on left, right, and centre. And, the guy who's telling a good joke in the corner gets a lot of attraction.
Yes.
The guy who's trying to sell insurance in the corner hasn't got many people talking to him. And the guy who works for the tax department sitting there on his own.
Yes. Yes.
So we've got to make sure that we're actually interesting if we want to attract people to like us and to comment and to sort of go into this relationship. So the whole social media thing is really, it's there. You're right. It's a structural change. It's not going away. And I know that the typical person is spending something like 45 minutes a day on average in Facebook.
Yes. Yeah.
So the question is not whether you should be there. The question is, how are you going to make sure that you keep your presence and you've got this interaction happening as well?
Yeah, and I agree with that. It's the ones that are the most successful are the ones that are interesting and that are fun. 67% of millennials will actually wake up and first thing they do is check their Facebook. I think it was about 40-something% go to bed checking their Facebook. So it's here. So it's how do you interact? It's about having that brand strategy. And throughout, we talk about offline, online. You've got to have a brand strategy throughout. With Facebook, the problem that people have is one of the big issues is that, they get onto Facebook, they just shove on there anything or just selling. Well, you know what? It's not about that. It's about being, even though it doesn't look like that, but it's about being very strategic in what you're putting up there, and it must align with your brand.
So this is now not about what you put up, it's about the mindset behind it.
Yeah.
And this is, I think, where most people struggle because, it's nice to have pictures of cats.
Yes.
And videos of cats.
Yes.
And all sorts of interesting images. But really, I suppose the question is it strategically sending the right message?
Yes. And I'll give you a great example. Chanel, very clever.
Yeah.
Now, Chanel have a makeup tutorial. So what they basically do is they get somebody who does makeup, to have the sun-kissed look. So they show you all the products that they use, and then down the bottom of their page, they've basically got all the products that you can purchase. Well, let me tell you, I didn't realize there were so many products that I needed to have that I didn't know that I needed to have. It's educational, it's entertaining, and basically what they've done is they've got me into the store now wanting to buy this product that I never even knew existed.
Right.
So what I'm saying is take what a lot of these bigger companies are doing, whether it's, Starbucks or whether it's Apple or whether it's Chanel or whatever your business is, or even look outside your business too. Take it, do it on a smaller scale. Because I know we don't all have these huge budgets, but look at it, take the really cool ideas, adapt them to your business, and then fly with it.
So let me ask you now, if we sort of bridge between social media and employees or staff.
Yes.
Because, the theme of today is how your salespeople are killing your business and the internet isn't. How should your salespeople interact with your social media?
Okay, so again, what we must remember is that anything that goes on social media is there for life.
Right.
So your staff represent your product.
Right.
So whenever, doesn't matter wherever I work and wherever I am, I'm always representing who I work for or who the brand is. So staff must be very careful on social media in what they say. They must always remember they represent the brand.
Right.
So that's where they must understand the branding strategy of the company. So it must be communicated with them.
Yes.
That's where, the company culture, their brand, their why, what is the purpose? So Can salespeople interact with their customers on Facebook? Yes, it must be appropriate.
Right.
So where it is the right interaction, perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's wrong, or you've got your staff being drunk on Facebook, and not cool at all. Because whether we like it or not, those salespeople are your business.
Yeah.
Because what we find is that when customers come in, it's like, let's just say David Guest works at the Apple store, let's just say.
Mm-hmm.
Well, David Guest is the Apple store. So if David gives me really bad service, Apple is bad, the brand is bad, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Or if David is seen out the front being abusive or whatever, David is Apple.
Okay.
Yeah.
So really, I suppose what we're saying is it's actually quite a bonus to have your whole team on your social media, but they must be educated into what's okay and what's not okay.
Yes.
And then what happens is that puts power behind your social media messages as well, because it means now there's a family behind the business.
Yes.
Excellent.
That's exactly right.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. So let's move on. So we've talked about social media, and really, I suppose what I want to understand is